All right. Chapter 26. Leonie rubbed at her neck, reassuring herself she was fine, just fine. No vines had gotten around her throat. The woodsman had seen to that. Still, Leonie could not help but imagine the way it would feel. The thorns pushed in like pinpricks, tugging and pulling as they squeezed the air from her lungs. She shivered. She had been terrified, truly terrified. She had nearly died, entombed in coffins of living vines. Make her help her. She hated this place. Blade in hand, she twisted and turned every which way, waiting for the next strike. Paranoia. She recognized it for what it was. Oh, she wanted to move, to leave, to run west and never look back. But dying by the swords of the Yelmes was not any better than dying here. East was her only option. Stardavna, and whatever power she held, was the only conceivable way to save Trevelar, to save herself. She started in what she thought might be an easterly direction. At least, it was the direction they had been going before they had been ambushed. She walked by Tal and Victor, their eyes wide and hands shaking as they fell in line behind her. Fjord limped along, dazed. Victor doubled back, half carried him on. The Riker woman appeared fine, the way peasant women always were, her face set and her eyes hard. Leonie and Ollie, man, they were in similar condition, clothes and skin dotted with 100 pinpricks of blood, each leaving little red trails down skin and cloth. There was a popular art style from Soreen. It involved poking thousands of holes into a canvas with various sizes of needles, and then putting the canvas before a set of candles and a mirror. It created a sea of pinpoints through which the light could paint images of flowers, cityscapes, portraits, and more. Ollie and Leonie looked as if one of these canvases had ended up in the hands of an amateur. "You're off then?" Ollie asked as she passed. Leonie faltered, memories from the moments before the vines washing over her. She was a fool. "Am I to assume you will take us no further?" Leonie stood straighter, running a shaking hand down her jerkin as if fixing a dress. Ollie looked around, taking in her haggard rangers. "Will this get bloody if I don't?" His voice stayed as flat as a Badawai banker, but she did not miss the tension in his forearms, the shifting of his hip. She would have liked nothing more than to teach him a lesson. But what would she gain? She needed to get to Stardavna quickly before anything else could happen to stop her. And if she were honest with herself, she felt too scared and tired to stay and argue, let alone have things get bloody. Leonie opened her mouth to speak, but Orelda stepped forward with a huff. "Oh, for maker's sake, if you two keep fighting like children, we'll all end up dead." On reflex, Leonie raised a finger and stepped forward, but Orelda left no room for whatever she intended to say. "This is how things will go. Ollie, you're taking us to Stardavna. No, don't say a word, boy. You're already walking a thin line with me. You got a sister back in Watchful who'll die if the princess can't get the power she needs, so you'll get your act together and you'll do it now. And you," Orelda whipped around, jabbing her own finger toward Leonie, "you point one more blade towards me or my boy, and I swear on Deos, I'll whip your hide so raw you'll wish I left you in the wood. I don't know much about saving a kingdom, but I do know you won't help things by stabbing your own people in the back, eh?" And then she stormed off, shoving past Leonie as she went. Leonie watched Orelda go, tightening her grip on her sword. When she turned back, Ollie stared into her eyes. "That settles it then," he said, his tone making it clear nothing was settled. Leonie swallowed. She needed his help and wanted none of it. "You shall take us then, yes?" "I'll take her," Ollie pointed at his mother. "If anything happens to her, though, then things get bloody." Ollie shrugged. "Better than waiting for you to hang me when we're out of this, eh?" Leonie said nothing. Ollie spat on the ground, then shook his head. "Whatever. We're off to the wall. Come on." Tal stepped forward, filling the space between Ollie and Leonie. "Your Highness, are you all right?" All right. She was anything but all right. But she said nothing and pushed forward behind the woodsman, afraid of what would happen if they lost him in this place. When Leone explained to Tal what had happened with Singer, the ranger said nothing. Already 2 rangers were dead, and now Fjord hobbled, injured. Whatever divine support Leone had been hoping for from Deus, she witnessed none of it. Perhaps she had needed that priest's blessing after all, or maybe she had truly become a heretic. "This is it," Ollie said, coming to a stop up ahead. Leone stepped up beside him. Her feet were sore, and much of her skin felt cold and dry. The shallow cuts along her arms and legs were now scabs pulling at her every time she moved. And yet all those thoughts of pain and soreness vanished when Leone looked at where they had arrived. Before her lay a stretch of grass without trees, bright in the afternoon sun. Beyond that, perhaps 12 yards ahead of her, stood one of the strangest things she had ever seen. Even though Ollie had told her what to expect, it felt odd to see something so civilized and ancient amid the wild. Built of white stones darkened with age, the wall had fallen into a strange form of disrepair. Many of the stones lay cracked on the grass before them, but those that still stood were incredibly daunting. Each one was cut to shape perfectly, meaning that where 2 stones still stood, no gap existed between them. And the wall went on to her left and right for as far as she could see, miles and miles each way. Leone could get a sense of what this had been in its prime, of the impossibility of its construction, and that unnerved her, because she had seen a similar construction before, the walls of Worcester. Those had been taller and thicker and made of glossy black stone, but it seemed as if both the age and the form of construction had been the same. It was, amongst other things, a reminder that Trevellar had been built upon epochs of other kingdoms. Most of those had been lost to memory, with only these relics to herald back to any past at all. Had those people been crushed beneath the weight of a foe like the Elmes? Is it why they did not exist today? And yet, even more fascinating than the wall was what lay behind it. In Trevellar, and in the world as a whole, early winter reigned. Cold air blew leaves from trees, leaving them bare. Leaves of orange and brown covered the ground, except where snow had likely already begun falling in the far north. Grass rose in the plains around the kingdom, dry and yellow, months away from the rains which would bring back the vast array of lush greens. So whatever Leone saw now could not be possible. Life and vibrancy, spring and summer, just paces away. Different shades of green leaves bloomed in the treetops, along with pinks, purples, and reds from treetop wildflowers. Everything looked wet and alive, as if a fresh rain had watered them an hour before. The wall rose too high for her to see much more, but Leone could imagine. "Maker help us," Victor said, spitting to the side. "It's real then," Leone breathed. "The timeless depths." Ollie snorted. "It's real enough to get you killed anyway, and we just call it the deep." Tal's lip twitched in disgust. The wood, the wall, the deep. Has no one told you, Strayazar, that names have power? They mean things. Look at this. She gestured, hands and eyes, trying to encompass the wall down to where it disappeared in the dark horizons. No people spent a lifetime constructing this and then called it the wall. Ollie walked alongside the large stones, his fingers reaching out and grazing them gently. Orelda stood beside him, whispering something Leone could not hear. "Peace, Tal," Leone said, as she walked toward a cracked stone, taking a closer look. "Do not expect too much from our guide." Vines moved lazily along the stretch of wall near her. Her skin crawled at the sight of them, and her hand rose up involuntarily toward her throat. "Is he all right?" Fjord asked, pointing toward Ollie, who leaned in on an intact portion of wall, his palm flat on the smooth stone, his head bowed. He looked ready to try and shove that section of stone over. "Come, woodsman," Leone called. "It is time to go, I think." Ollie said nothing, only kept his hand firmly on the stone before him, his lips moving without sound. Leonie looked to Orelda. Woman, what is he doing? Orelda shook her head. Oi, your highness, I... And then Ollie spoke, his voice deep and commanding. Tvarka, poshwete, pioso. Each word shivered the air around them, Each word shivered the air around them, energizing the air and making Leonie's hair stand on end. Gone mad, Victor said, backing up and holding his bow a little higher. But Leonie did not think so. Those words he spoke were not familiar to her, and yet she felt like she should know them, all the same. Not only because they were clearly of the same language he had spoken before, but it felt as though she had seen and heard this tongue in her distant memory, as if she had heard this language as a child but forgotten all about it, except the most distant whispers of it. The last time the woodsman had spoken in this tongue, the enchantment over each of them had been broken. Now Leonie waited expectantly for magic to stir the air. She was not disappointed. The stone Ollie touched began to shudder. The ramifications of his words rippled out along the wall in waves, like a stone hitting a pond. Rock shoved against rock, creating a low and terrible rumble, lasting for a dozen seconds, and then stopped. The following stillness hung heavy, weighed down by a mixture of understanding and confusion. They all knew something miraculous had happened, and yet the significance of it lay beyond them. One thought drummed through Leonie's mind, though. She knew that if a rock were given a language, then that was what it would sound like. Maker, Tal said, falling to her knees. This ain't good, Fjord muttered, running a hand through his hair. Victor knocked an arrow. Orelda beamed, her hand rising to her mouth in either awe or pleasure. It's been so long. The stone moved, Victor said. The whole wall moved. Ain't right? Maia, Leonie said, ashamed at the tremble in her voice. It is magic. Ollie looked at Tal, pointing a thumb at his chest. We Strehazar know the true name of things, or... He looked about himself as if searching for something. Some of them, at least. And we use those names sparingly. So in the common tongue, we just call things what they are. The wall's a wall. The wood is a wood. You don't disrespect a thing by calling it what it is. Tal shook her head, muttering, Yidomecha, a Badawai word that Leonie recognized. Namer. Ollie ignored her, then leapt atop a fallen rock, moving toward the deep. Once we're over there, we'll be running the whole way. No stopping. Running? Fjord said, glancing at his ankle. Victor stepped near him and put a hand on his shoulder. Orelda followed her son as he worked his way up to the top of the wall, climbing from one fallen block to another. You don't want to be walking in the deep. It's a bad way to die, she said, looking back to Fjord. It'd be best you turn back now. Fjord shook his head and looked at Leonie. I can keep up, milady. You ain't got a choice, Ollie called out, looking at his mother with a frown. You'll just die on the way back if you try it. Ollie, he can't run, Orelda said. Then his blood is on her hands. Ollie gestured to Leonie. Now come on. We gotta go. Leonie worked her jaw, looking from Fjord to Tal, and considered what to do. Would the man die either way? But Fjord spoke first. I've been through worse, Your Highness. I'll keep up. You have my word. And it was settled then. Not to honor the word of one of her soldiers was to dishonor them. Despite what the woodsman said, Fjord's blood would be on his own head. Then follow, Leonie said, making for the crumpled portion of the wall Ollie and his mother had just climbed. Near the top, Tal said, It'll be dark soon. How will we make camp? Ollie stood at the top of the wall, pointing downward. The moon's bright over there. Always. You'll see enough to take your next step. But there'll be no camp and no rest until we get back out of the wood entirely. Our best hope is to keep going as fast as we can and pray we don't get noticed. Noticed by what? The wood. And if we are noticed, Leonie asked, coming to stand beside Ollie. Ollie shrugged. Just Kill whatever you see before it kills you. Can you not use your power? If the stones obey, then will not the vines and the creatures? No, Ollie said, the words tinged with longing. Maybe someone could have a long time ago, but nothing over there remembers its name. I mean, look at them, Ollie said, pointing to the vines writhing along the wall. Ain't supposed to act like that. Forgot their names, became something else. Don't make any sense, Fjord muttered, still climbing, his head drenched with sweat, cheeks flushed red. Nothing makes sense, Ollie muttered. Leonie hardly listened. She could not peel her eyes away from the thousands of flowers hugging the forest floor like a carpet of red and yellow. Butterflies and bees, blue jays and sparrows, they fluttered around like royal criers. The tree trunks appeared wide enough for doors to be carved into them. Many of their limbs grew as thick as small trees. Each looked ready to bear fruit by the hundreds, though their buds were still firmly closed. It was a garden for a king, except Leonie knew well that even kings had to succumb to natural laws. This was the garden of a god. Is that what she is? Leonie wondered. Is Star Davna a god? If so, what did that mean for Leonie? Had she come to tame a god, to make a puppet of this divine? The idea constituted heresy, of course. And yet, had Leonie ever seen the order produce such wonder? Best keep up, Ollie said, and then he dropped down into the deep. Because if we don't keep up, we die, Fjord said, as he scaled the last stone to stand beside the rest. Leonie said nothing. Twice already she had nearly died, and it felt more dangerous as they entered the timeless depths. She was unsure she could keep up with the woodsman and certain he would leave her behind. But not his mother, Leonie watched as Arelda slowly lowered herself down. He will not leave her. No matter what, Leonie only needed to stay with her. If she could do that, then she would find herself under Ollie's protection as well. Come, Leonie said, avoiding Fjord's eyes. And then she, too, dropped into the deep.